This is Henry Frederick of Headline Surfer, and we're here for the Roundtable, the weekly discussion of politics and public affairs. To my left is Bob Tolley of New Smyrna Beach, Sally Gillis of Ormond Beach, and Stan Escudero of Daytona Beach, or Daytona Beach Shores. One of those. And so the first topic we're going to look at today is the issue of government spending at the local level. The school board wants to add an extra tax. They say they're short. We had some issues in New Smyrna Beach where they're talking about increasing salaries. So Bob, you can start this conversation off with what your thoughts are on the taxing situation.
Well, we just went over some of the values ranging from 2005 at the peak to May 2012, and the average property values, at least in New Smyrna Beach, have dropped anywhere from 50% to 57%. Now all of a sudden we get this notice that there's been a tick up in the values of the property. And everybody says, well, wait a minute now, we found a 1.5% tick up. I'm just rounding it off.
That's 2.02.
Hey, that means we can start going hog wild. We've got to give the fire union this, we've got to give police this, we've got to give our employees this. Baloney. As I said before the camera went on, nobody in government, regardless of what level, schools, the counties, the cities, nobody gets a raise until the public starts seeing their life and quality of life starting to increase. They're not getting raises. They're not getting their health care benefits increased and paid for, even if they're paying into it. None of this is happening. These folks all work for us. And I think everybody forgets that. We tend to let them go and say, oh, what can we do about it? Well, you start standing up and you start saying, no more. If we don't get increases and our quality of life doesn't increase, you're not entitled to an increase. As a matter of fact, maybe we need to start cropping more from the top. That's where I came up with chop the top.
Sally?
Well, I think before we do anything, we should figure out how to get them to stop spending our money like insane people. There isn't any county, city, town, federal, state budget that has gone down in the same manner that our incomes and our lives have gone down. And property taxes are especially irritating to me because we bought a house in 2005, which was really right at the peak of the market. And when everything crashed, our house is suddenly worth half of what it used to be. Why? I didn't buy or sell another house. It's still the house that I paid an exceptional amount of money that was taxed at a very high rate. Do the taxes go down when the value goes down? Not too much.
Keep that in mind, and I'll bring that up in a minute. Stan?
Well, I think in the midst of a recession, and the economy in Volusia County is definitely in recession, whatever the case may be nationally, you do not raise taxes. We are already the second highest taxed county in the state of Florida in terms of property taxes, other taxes. There's simply no justification for adding on additional taxes to a population which is already overburdened. What they need to do is take a look at the county spending levels, at the level of income, and realize that they have already overpromised that income. They've got to find ways, as both of my predecessors said, to reduce spending. They've got to find ways to live within their means. And that doesn't mean taking more of our means.
Well, let me bring up a graphic, Bob, since you brought up New Smyrna Beach. I found it interesting that with a 2% increase in property taxes for New Smyrna Beach, one of the few communities that even had a property increase. In 2002, the highest paid official in New Smyrna Beach was then city manager Frank Roberts, who grossed $72,100. Today, more than 100 of the employees make $50,000 and up.
Well, remember that the median income in Volusia County is $33,500. Why am I subsidizing these people?
And how much does the city manager make today?
The city manager in New Smyrna Beach makes $125,000. The city attorney makes in excess of $210,000.
That's the one that's
which is more than the U.S. Supreme Court justices earn. I want to put this in your laps to see what you think about this. Since the Frank Roberts, city manager in New Smyrna Beach, made $72,100. Today makes $125,000. That's what, almost double. Well, it is double, more than double. What does that say about property values? I mean, property values went up, what did they peak around, 2005, 2006?
Yeah.
So this is my theory, is that, and then I want to get some reaction to it. These city administrators are smart. They said, well, you know what? Let's give these people, unions, what they want. Because remember, they're rank and file. If they get X amount of dollars, then we should be somewhat above that to administer them. So if you have salaries going from an average of between 50 and 70,000 a year to now between 70 and 125, throw away the city attorney's salary, you're still looking at, in New Smyrna Beach, 7 people, 7 employees making 6 figures.
That's crazy.
7 in a town of 22,000 people.
That's crazy.
So if property values went up and they had all these jobs created, isn't it funny how they're able to eliminate all these jobs now? It makes you wonder why they were there to begin with. And with the increases, what do you guys think about that proposition that if you have rank and file salaries going up, then you have to have administration to oversee those rank and file salaries, and therefore it's a lose-lose for the taxpayer. Stan?
Well, I think you've put your finger on the basic problem of dealing with public sector unions. Because virtually all the people involved belong to a public sector union of one kind or another.
But they blame the union. But is it the union's fault if there's management and unions?
But listen, hear me out, hear me out. What you're doing is you're, in effect, you're negotiating with yourself, because you know, if you're the administrator, that your salary is going to remain a certain percentage, not maybe a fixed percentage, but still in your mind a fixed percentage above that of the rank and file. So if you raise their salaries and benefits package, you raise your own as well, in order to sustain that that idea of rank and benefit in person. And all it does is enable everybody to take bigger and bigger dips out of the public trough without regard to how much is actually flowing into that trough. It's, in the end, a lose situation for everybody except those few individuals who get money from these salaries, and even they will lose eventually when the whole thing falls apart.
And to compound it, to make it even worse, you're talking about budgets that require between 68 and 80% personnel services, meaning it's all salaries. There's no infrastructure, there's no capital projects, there's nothing for developing the future. For example, in New Smyrna Beach, and I'm sure this is the case in Daytona Beach with all the CRAs there, you've got all these projects that politics, oh look, we got this building, we got that building. But it's not the same thing because it's money that's taken out of the general fund, put here, and it's like picking candy. With how much you want for this project, how much you want for that project. But it doesn't come back to the taxpayer like the general budget does. So Bob, can New Smyrna Beach justify with a 2% property increase and property values still being, you know, not where they need to be, can they still justify these salary increases across the board?
Absolutely not. But let me go back to the county for a second. We were talking about this in the car. We were talking about this before. EVAC is a perfect example. EVAC was doing okay. Then the county decided, look, we're going to take it over. EVAC is going to become part of the county. Now, what does the county do? The first thing, they allow them to unionize. That now costs us more money. I would have put it out to RFP. See how many other companies would have an interest in this. But no, not our county leaders out there. They had to throw everybody under the union umbrella now. Who's going to pay for this?
Well,
guess what?
Well, we're going to go bankrupt before we ever pay it.
But let me ask this. If they were privatized to begin with and they knew, you can't stop a union from developing. I don't think the county said, hey, let's put a union in there. I think that was the rank and file of the VBAC's personnel. Well, I mean, that's the reality of it. Why not leave it privatized, Stan?
Why not leave it privatized?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't...
It's just government growing.
I don't understand the benefits that accrued to the county from taking the EVAC structure that we had, which worked, and which sustained itself at a reasonable level of expenditure, and pulling it all together into one. I mean, you could argue that there are duplications that you would eliminate and things like that, but if you look at the cost of EVAC at the time, and total it all up in county, and you look at the number of personnel who were employed by EVAC at the time, you total everything involved in EPAC up before amalgamation, and then you total it up afterward, you will see that there's been a very considerable increase in cost to the county without a like increase in the level of service.
Well, you got